Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. We are from Group 7. And in this occasion, we would like to present about our draft of research essay. So basically, our title is Analysis of Indonesian Speakers' Perspective in Distinguishing Gender Based on Indonesian Language and Vocabularies. Next. The background of the study, there are some of language still consist the gender distinctions in their languages. We can see the gender distinctions in many ways, such as vocabulary and grammar structure. Looking at these cases, our group decided to do a research to see whether the language speakers that do not have a gender distinctions in their language can still see this gender in their language. Next. And here are our research questions. The first one is, how do Indonesian speakers see gender differences in Indonesian words? And the second one is, how does gender influence Indonesian words? Next. And for the objective of the study, the first one is, the objective of the study is to examine if speakers of a language that does not have a gender distinctions on it can recognizes the gender differences in their language. And second, our groups use Bahasa Indonesia as a subject because Bahasa Indonesia is a language with no significant gender differences in its grammar and whether the patriarchal culture prevalent in Indonesia could have an impact on these conditions.
Now we move to literary review. The first one is gender. So gender is described as the visible difference between men and women in terms of values and conduct, according to Nasaruddin Umar Webster New World Dictionary. It is a value that relates to social interactions that give various roles between men and women, owing to biological differences that are natural and by society and become culture in social life. According to WHO, gender is the collection of roles, attitudes, activities, and characteristics that are acceptable for men and women. Gender research has its origins in feminist anthropology, and therefore they are misinterpreted in society about gender. So gender studies primarily focus on the cultural creation of two living beings. Gender is an inherent trait of women and men, which is then constructed socially and culturally. Gender is not something we are born with and not something we have, but something we do and show. The second is gender in language. So in conversations, both formal and informal situations, men and women can be dominant depending on the discussion topic. Furthermore, the speaker's position may have an impact on the amount of time he or she takes to speak. For instance, if a woman holds a position of leadership in a community, she must speak more actively than the others in this situation. According to some experts, women employ more standard speech forms than males because they are more aware of their standing. And according to Lakoff, females employ more intensifiers than males, such as so incredibly, pretty, terribly, quite quiet, and so on. Women, on the other hand, according to Wenjing, are more concerned with the refinement of their language. The relation between gender and language is quite complex. Holmes stated that there are 6 candidate universals regarding language and gender. The first one is women and men develop different patterns of language use. Second, women tend to focus on the affective functions of an interaction more often than men do. Third, women tend to use linguistic devices that stress solidarity more often than men do. Fourth, women tend to interact in ways that will maintain and increase solidarity, while especially in formal contexts, men tend to interact in ways that will maintain and increase their power and status. Fifth, women use more standard forms than men from the same social group in the same social context. And six, women are stylistically more flexible than men.
So the next is method. For the research design, this study will use the descriptive qualitative method by using the interviews and questionnaire to find out whether Bahasa Indonesia speakers can see and differentiate the gender in their language. For the data and search, the researchers would conduct an interview with a questionnaire to the participants, and then the questionnaire is written as a series of sentences, and the interview will be asked to choose whether the words are masculine or feminine or cannot identify. And the researcher will pick one of the interview's choices at random to ask about the reason for their gender choice.
Okay, the next part is one part. We can next to data collection. Yeah, for data collection, the researcher or us will start gather the data in the study by looking for participants who fulfill the study criteria, and our criteria are Bahasa Indonesia, people who speak Bahasa Indonesia, from English literature students from Barijaya University. And after the researcher has gathered the participants, the researcher will ask them the question to see if they fulfill the study criteria and explain the research purposes and objective. And yeah, if the participants are matches our study criteria, we will give them a questionnaire, a form to fill out, and we'll pick one of the questionnaire answer at random to ask about the reason for the gender choice. And next, data analysis. For the data analysis, the data will check whether participants can find out which gender is appropriate for the given words and the reasons why they choose that gender in the words profile. In addition, we will use analysis whether the gender affects their perspective in seeing some Indonesian language vocabularies. For example, it means if the participant is a man, will it affect the answer of our questionnaire, like the questionnaires. And then the questionnaire would consist as a list of Indonesian vocabularies, and in the part to the participants choose if there is that vocabularies are feminine, masculine, or they cannot identify it. And then I think that's next. Yeah, and there are some references that we use in this study, as you can see in your screen. And next, I think that's all of our presentations today. Thank you for thank you for the attention, and we hope you can help us to make our research better than now. Thank you.